I'm about to show you the training routine that I actually did. If you have trained before, you can get straight into it. But if you have never trained before and you're completely new to the gym, I recommend that for 2 or 3 weeks you just do some general training until your muscle soreness goes away, because if you get straight into the first week of the training I'm about to show you, it will just be too hard and you'll get too sore and you're not used to the kind of stress. So just a few weeks of weight training before you start. If you've never trained before, if you have trained before, you can get straight into it. This is my training program. This is the actual workout that I have used throughout these 5 months. There's other ways to do it, but this is my favorite one and it gives results consistently. It is made up of 2 parts. It's a cycle which is made up of 2 parts. It's got an overtraining phase and adaptation phase. It always starts with the overtraining phase, and during the overtraining phase you are going to deliberately overtrain so that it puts your body into a shock, and you will not be getting any stronger during that week. It is purely for the shock, and after that you get into the adaptation phase, and it is in the adaptation phase that you will actually start growing, because that's when you back off and you go a lot easier and you can start growing. So the major difference between the two is that this one is for the first week, which is made up of 3 workouts. These workouts are back to back, 3 ahead of each other. So in my case I usually work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but on the first week I do all 3 days ahead of each other. So it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right ahead of each other. I will do these exercises. I will get more specific about the exercises, but this is just the overview. Different exercises will later be chosen. So I have some heavy exercises, like for thighs this could be a squat or a stiff-legged deadlift. For the back this could be a pull down or bent over row. This could be bench press or incline press, and then there is other exercises which have less sets. But in the overtraining phase, the first 3 exercises are going to be 6 sets. They have compound exercises, and all the other exercises that come after that will have 3 sets. Every set is always taken to failure. The rest period during the overtraining phase is 60 seconds or less. So I try not to have it longer than 60 seconds, but you need to change the weight, and that takes a little bit of time. So sometimes if I can change it quickly, I'll do even less than 60 seconds. But if you aim for 60 seconds or less, that is good. The number of repetitions depends on the day. It's not the same amount of repetitions every single day in the workouts that I do. So on day 1, the first workout will be 12 to 15 repetitions until failure. On the second day it'll be 10 to 12, and on the third day it'll be 8 to 10. Each set starts with the heaviest weight first. So if I can lift at a given exercise with 60 kilos for 13 times for instance, then on the second set I will have to decrease the weight because I'm exhausted from the first set, so that I can still do it within that range. So it always gets reduced enough so it stays within that range. Then during the adaptation phase, on this side the exercises are still the same. The heavy compound exercises have been reduced to 3 sets because now we're no longer overtraining, we're just adapting, and this is really where you get stronger. During this week you will possibly even get weaker, because it might look easy at first, but when you get to the gym and do it, it's actually really hard. And if anything, you might get weaker during that, so don't panic, that's perfectly normal. Here you're adapting, and things are very different, although the exercises are the same. It's 3 workouts a week. I do them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It doesn't have to be those 3 days. You can choose other days, but it should always have a rest day in between. The duration for this phase is 3 to 4 weeks. Usually the first 3 weeks I make a lot of progress, and on the 4th weeks I make some progress as well. 5th week I don't really make any significant progress, so 3 or 4 weeks, no more than 4, is great for this. The rest period between sets has been increased a lot to 3 minutes. That is very long rest, because we're adapting now. We're not trying to stress our body out anymore. We're just trying to stimulate growth but back off early and give it lots of rest. This also helps that the neuron efficiency to get stronger. We don't just want to get bigger, we want to get stronger as well, and when you're stronger you can lift more. And generally high rep exercises, sort of 10 to 12 and more, tend to build more of the bulk, whereas low rep like 5 to 7 is more for neuron efficiency. It doesn't make you that much bigger, but it makes you stronger. But the way we do it here, so it's 3 minutes of rest between sets. The days 1, 2, 3, which in my case Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Monday I will be doing 10 to 12 repetitions. Then on day 2 I increase the weight so that I can only do 8 to 10 repetitions, and on day 3 I increase the weight again so that I can only do 5 to 7 repetitions. And even though this is what more stimulates the muscle growth, it's the higher repetitions, the lower repetitions here increase the neuro efficiency, which makes a muscle stronger at a given size. It makes it more efficient. It's more the way a weightlifter would train than a bodybuilder. But it's a good idea to have these 3 going in this cycle, and because by day 3 you're increasing your strength, and with the increased strength you can go back to day 1 the next week and you'll be stronger, you'll be able to lift more weight at that rep range, and this will then in turn help you get bigger. But I always think there's no point in just being big without being strong. I think you want to have both. You want to have actually usable strength for your training. You don't just want to be big and weak. It seems a bit pointless, and it helps. It helps you get bigger. If you're stronger, you can lift more, and you can get bigger. So the heavy compounds, 3 sets. So it's like set 1, 3 minutes rest. Set 2, 3 minutes rest. Set 3, 3 minutes rest. Same with this and this. And these ones will just have 1 set, and that's enough. Don't feel tempted to do 2 sets or 3 because you think you have to. You really don't have to. This is the adaptation. You've overtrained here. You're in shock. You now get a chance to adapt, and this is the best way to take advantage of it, is not overtrain. And the training should not be longer than an hour. After an hour's worth of training, your testosterone are spent. Unless you're on steroids, it is pointless to train longer than an hour. It won't do much for you. So the way you should log how much weight you lift, I've just made an example here. You should write it down. So I've just got like deadlift, if that was to be a chosen exercise, pull down, if that was to be a chosen exercise for the back, or bench press, could be a chosen exercise for the chest. So if you are able to do on day 1 10 to 12 repetitions with 66 kilos, you write that down. That automatically means that for day 2, when you're doing 8 to 10, you need more weight, so it's 71. You already know that ahead. And on a 3rd day, when you just do 5 to 7, it's even more weight, because it's more weight, less repetitions. So it's 76 kilos. If you come back next week and you do that again, 66 kilos, but you've gotten stronger and now you can do 13 repetitions, that means you are now beyond the 10 to 12. So you need to increase it. You write that down here. You write 71 because now you can do that much. And when you get to day 2, you can do 76, which was day 3 before. And then this will be 81, and then you will be training with this weight. And if you can do this one next week with more weight, if you can do this one for 14 repetitions or something, then you need to increase it again. Then day 1 becomes 76, and day 2 becomes 81, and day 3 becomes 96. And it's the same with this. If you can only do it, say, for 10 repetitions, then you need to leave it and do this again next week. But if next week you come back and you can do this for more than 12, then you need to increase it, and this becomes 75 for day 1, and day 2 becomes 80, and day 3 becomes 85. And this is how you log. You do this for all your exercise. I just got 3 here, but you need to do it for everything that is written down here, for all these that you choose. Now, choosing these exercises, they can be something different every time. It's every time you do a cycle, so you do 1 week of this, and you do the 3 workouts ahead of each other. For instance, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Next week starts on Monday. You do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. These ones, second week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Third week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And maybe a 4th week. And after that, the cycle is complete. When this cycle is complete, you take a week of rest. So you take a whole week of rest, and then before you get into the next week, you also take rest for Monday, Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you start again with this, and then this. But this time you choose different exercises. So I've written down an example. You can choose your own exercises. This is just an example of some of the exercises that I have used. So for the thigh, I chose the stiff-legged deadlift. This is a great exercise for the hamstrings. After this cycle is complete, you do a second cycle, which starts over again. With the overtraining phase, you choose different exercises. For the thighs, you choose the squat, for instance. And for the back, I choose the bent over row. For the chest, I choose the incline bench press. For the other exercises, like the shoulders, I choose shoulder press. For the triceps, I choose something different. Instead of the triceps press down, which I had before, I choose overhead tricep extension. I choose incline dumbbell curl instead of the barbell curl. And then I don't do an ab exercise, which I had over here, and I don't do the calf exercises. Instead I do wrist curls and reverse wrist curls. And again, these exercises here, this would be the squat, the bent over row. This would be the incline press. And these ones are the other ones, like for the biceps, the dumbbell, incline dumbbell curls, overhead tricep extensions, shoulder press. I don't do abs. You don't have to, because it says here abs, do abs. You can choose something else. Like I've chosen in the second cycle, instead of calves and abs, I've got wrist curl and reverse wrist curl. You can also have another exercise if you want to. If just one set, they need to be small exercises. Don't add heavy compound exercises, because otherwise you'll get overtrained. If there's small exercises like for your forearms or shoulder shrugs, or to build your traps, something like that is appropriate for here. But they will all be one set. There will be 3 sets over here in your first week, and there'll be 1 set in your adaptation phase. And another thing I would like to say is, somebody looking at this might say, well, if I just do stiff-legged deadlifts for a whole cycle, that's like 4 weeks of training and 1 week of overtraining and a week of, that's like 5 weeks, and I'm not doing any squats. Does that mean my quadricep is gonna shrink, or vice versa? When you do the squat, you think, yeah, is my hamstring gonna shrink in a time? And the answer is no, they don't. Whenever I have done this, when I did this, for instance, and I increased my weight during that cycle by maybe 10 kilos or something, and then I have a rest week and then I do squats, and I don't train that at all. I do this for a cycle which takes sort of 5 to 6 weeks with the rest week, and when I come back and do this exercise again, I didn't get any weaker. I can pick it up right where I left off. So this is nothing to be scared about. And when you have this cycle complete, that's your second one complete, you can go back to this one. You can alternate between the two, or even better, you can make changes. It doesn't have to be the same exercises. So if you did barbell curl here and you did incline dumbbell curls here, and you want to now do hammer curls, for instance, that's a great idea. You don't have to stick to the same exercise. It's always good to take a new exercise, but you have to pick an exercise and stick with that exercise throughout the entire cycle. But once the cycle is complete and you start a new cycle, you can choose whatever exercise you want, preferably a new exercise, and an exercise that is different than the other cycle. This will prevent you getting a plateau. I hope that this makes sense. If not, you'll have to ask me a question. Now, during this cycle, during the adaptation weeks, you will get stronger almost every week, at least on some of the exercises. Maybe 1 week it's this exercise, 1 week the other, but especially in the beginning you will get stronger and bigger very quickly. After you've finished the cycle, you had a week of rest, you do another cycle, and you will grow again during the adaptation phase. And you can do this for maybe 5 cycles, and maybe after the 6 cycles your progress will start to slow or even plateau. And when it gets to that stage of a plateau, you are going to have to take a longer layoff. I recommend about 2 months. And I recommend that during these 2 months you do some other kind of training, like interval training or gymnastics training, just something completely different that will keep you in shape. And then after 2 months you can come back and you start over again, and maybe you have lost some strength during that time or some size, but it doesn't matter, it will come back really quickly, and this time it's like going up with momentum and you'll go beyond the point where you were before. And so every time you do it, it goes a little bit further. I don't recommend, well, if you do other weight training, a different routine after you've done this one. Usually when this training routine plateaus, pretty much nothing else will work, because this is the routine I wound up with, because it's the one that really works the best. There's certainly plenty of other routines that work, but at the point when all the others stop working and this one still does, once this one stops working, that really seems to be a plateau that requires a longer layoff. And never be afraid of losing size or strength during a layoff. It's gonna come back quickly once you return, and then you'll be able to go a step beyond what you were before.